All right, so this is part two for the 67 GT350 hood scoop to fit on a 2000 Mustang GT. So from the pictures before, the wood slats that were on the back was just to help fill in to build the spoiler up. Excuse me, the scoop up. And I cut the flat edges off and made edges under the scoop. So once I got those pieces of wood, half-inch pieces of wood, heated with the propane torch to kind of fill in so I could build it up, then I fiberglassed it. Fiberglass mat and fiberglass resin, and built that up to the contour of the hood. Once I got that built up, the back came down flat against the hood. I had to build the back up also, because I didn't want it to look like that. And then I had to recurve the back to match the hood of the Mustang here, which you see was already done, but the bodywork here is just to kind of fill into the edge of the hood. Same way here, I filled it in. It fit flat, but what I did with that fiberglass and those wood slats, I drilled them for a 1/4 inch National Course key insert. So I Loctited the key inserts in, made studs, drilled, made a template for the hood, laid the scoop on there with the studs in it, drilled the holes, opened up the back side, underside of the hood a little bit so I could get nuts and flats and lock washers on there, which I did. And then the bonding agent that you've seen, the Loctite, in part one, I also put that on the flat edges, the underside edges of the hood, to bond it down also, because I wanted to make sure it had a really good fit and wasn't going to crack later. So to fill in those edges, I'm using short hair reinforced fiberglass. This is Evercoat. I've used Bondo. It's the same thing. It's reinforced filler. It's hard to sand. I'm sanding it all. Most of this is by hand. And using some 3/8 holes wrapped with sandpaper also to give a nice continuous straight line. You see I'm protecting the hood here so I don't get any of this fiberglass resin on the rest of the paint, which I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to paint this hood yet, because I'm a sloppy person, or that stuff's sloppy. But anyway, I don't know if I'm just going to paint the center of the hood as like a stripe. Use the original color and throw some red pearl in it and clear coat it, or clear coat the whole hood. But I don't think I'm gonna paint the whole hood because it's as far as the color, because the color is perfect. I can wet sand the clear and clear the whole hood and not have any edges. I have one tiny little chip over here on this side of the hood where something flew up on the interstate from the other side of the other direction of the interstate, up in there, came down and hit my freaking hood when I went to visit a buddy that was in a rehab center that had some issues. About 10 years older than me. He's 76. Known him for 40-something years. Didn't like him in the beginning. He was my boss, but I learned to like him anyway. And eventually I became his boss, but that's beside the point. So anyway, this is blending in. I think I'm on the last layer of the reinforced filler, so this stuff's so hard to sand by hand. And I'm going to come along with a thin layer of regular filler, not reinforced, to give it a nice smooth finished look, easier to sand. With it being bonded down and bolted down, I don't believe this thing's going to crack. I'd be willing to bet on it. But anyway, This is an aluminum hood, so I grinded the paint and everything around there, so it had nice good stuff to grip to. And I forgot to mention, I even built the front up too. Those spoilers are normally not that tall. I built the front up about a ½ inch, I believe. And of course the back higher because it slanted down in the back and came down flat, which I didn't want that at all. So anyway, and then I had to fill. That hood scoop had some imperfections. It had a big sunken spot here and one here in the fiberglass, so I had to level that out too. So anyway, you'll see more when the filler's done, ready for paint, and then paint.